now think
on the
about
last
it
episode of
as
Wonder and Wildflower.
today with these kids with the smartphones. And even if it's not like a gross thing, they're curious. They have questions. They hear something at school. They don't know if they can talk to mom and dad, so they look it up and then they find all the things. And I mean, we've heard of people who've like, they got an ad that looked totally harmless and then it led to this. And the other thing I think we have to remember is that our kids are smarter than us technological wise. I had quite a few experiences with the virtual learning, like how they weren't supposed to be able to do this and that and the other thing. Y'all, they can do whatever they want to do and they can figure it out and they can do it in a way that we can't figure it out. We don't see it. We don't know what's going on. And our kids are just smarter than us. And if they're not, their friends are. And so they're telling you, we've had kids, friends of ours whose kids have gotten random phones from kids who don't need the phones anymore. Like there is a way around. And so the number one way you can keep them safe is delay the smartphone and delay social media as long as humanly possible. And I get that that's hard.
Yeah.
Right? It's not easy. But
how long would you delay the smart? So I know we're not there yet in age, but, and I know that you mentioned 18. Hey, when you can afford a smartphone, you go buy it yourself.
I don't care if they can afford it tomorrow. They can get one.
So, go ahead.
So for our family, what we have decided, and maybe just I have decided, but you are endlessly
long for the ride.
You are endlessly supportive. But I think it's like one of those things, like when you tell me we have to set up the camera and the white balance has to be 1600, I just say yes, sir, because I have no idea what you just said to me.
Mm-hmm.
You don't dig into this stuff the way that I do. So I think it's one of those things where you're like, yeah, she knows what she's talking about, so we're going to go with that. And of course, anything could change between here and there. Who even knows if we'll have smartphones in 8 years when our child is 18? For us, the smartphone will be delayed until 18. They don't need it. Like, they don't, for what? What do they need it for? Social media will also be delayed until 18. I don't see any reason why they need it. They can have, the Bark and the Gab phones?
Mm-hmm.
Sure, if they get a job and they're away and I need to talk to them, or they need to call us for rides or whatever, they'll have a phone. And it will call me and text me. It will not get on the internet. They'll have access to a family computer, of course. We homeschool. They have to do things.
Mm-hmm.
But they will not, in our home, have access to those things. They don't need them.
I agree. I'm thinking about our nephew. Right now, I know we have many of them, but I'm referring to the one who did not have a phone. And I remember one of the reasons that he did not have a phone is because he came across something, however it came across, right, that was inappropriate. And parents just took away the phone, right? And so, but he didn't have a phone for years. And now as an adult, one thing to his credit is I think that he communicates well with people when he's face to face. Like he picks up the phone, like you're not even, he may not respond to a text message, but he will pick up the phone if you call him.
And he can hold a conversation.
And he can hold a conversation face to face.
And he's freaking precious.
Whereas other people his age cannot, right? And so I think at this point he's early 20s. And I feel as if from the early 20-year-olds that I know, he's able to still have a conversation with somebody. Yes. And just like these bare kind of what seems like bare minimum, or
he doesn't even have social media, does he?
Yeah, I think like we just don't see him on it.
Yeah.
Right?
Like he's not super active.
But he's not I don't think that he's active. Which I'm sure there's other apps that he uses that he's more active on.
Well, we know he loves video games.
Yeah, and so, but once again, he is able to articulate himself and present himself, I think, in a manner that is, I was going to say pleasurable to people, but pleasant. There you go. Pleasant to people.
The other thing, if we look comparatively to, we know quite a few. We worked in youth ministry. We've, we have tons of nieces and nephews. If we look at all of the 20, or let's just say 16 to 25-year-olds that we know and love in our life, he's probably doing the best mental health-wise also. He seems confident in who he is. He seems like, he's making good choices, and doesn't seem like he is struggling mental health-wise. Where if we look at other people in that group, we've had lots of mental health issues. And I'm not saying it's all screen related, but could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
And you brought so many memories back, as you mentioned, like pastoring youth,
Leading youth, whatever.
whatever that term is.
Ministering to the youth.
Ugh.
But how many times were phones issues? And
how many times there were a ton of times.
And there were times where we would go to parents and be like, "Hey, this is what's happening, and it's not great." And the parents would be like, "Well, we've got it under control." Do you? Do you? Because now where I'm seeing more things, you don't. And it's not like I was right, you were wrong, but it's like, hey, sometimes people know things and are aware of things, and maybe we should just be open to like trying something different.
Perhaps just a little bit open.
A little bit. But I think too, one thing that gives us maybe a good backbone is that we discovered our why when our kids were young. So
what would you say is, just so it's out there, what is your why? So
our why for...
what is our why?
Our why that I've come up with for limiting screen time. So we do limit screen time quite a bit. And I think... on average, like kids have like 7 or 8 hours of screen time. It's like an insane amount of screen time a day. Our why for that is that their mental health, like their ability to cope, their meltdowns are insane. The fact that these things are addictive, like scientifically addictive. We want better for them. We want them to be creative. We want them to get bored. We want them to, like I said before, we did that 2-week detox. They both learned one learned how to ride a bike, one learned how to rollerblade in like a minute. And the riding the bike thing, we've been working on forever.
I remember that. Yes.
Oh my gosh. But we took the screens away. There was, you gotta find something to do, and you figured out how to ride a bike. With the screen time thing, this is what I think about when we make any decision for the kids. Like, we get a bunch of crap because I don't drop our kids off. We don't drop our kids off anywhere. They don't go to VBS. They don't go to camp. They don't do anything unless one of us is there. Yeah. And we get a lot of crap about that. But my thought is, okay, I could take them to VBS. I could drop them off. Chances are they'll be fine. But what if they're not? Am I willing to risk that? So I could give them a smartphone, and they're good kids, and I could say, hey, guys, only listen to music and podcast. Well, that might be all they do, and then they stumble upon something. Am I willing to risk their safety?
Yeah. Like we have a little bit of risk, right? Because we have YouTube Music, right? And YouTube Music, at least that I'm aware of so far, there's like, hey, limit explicit language. I don't think there's like, hey, limit to this specific genre or anything in that nature. Right? Like our kids are able to look up anything that they wanted to that may come across YouTube Music. So we do have risk there.
Yes. And I'm not saying that it's ever going to be risk-free, right? Yeah. But we also have had very specific conversations with our kids. Our kids know about sex. Our kids know about porn. They know what to do if they find something like that. They know that if they come to us with that, they're not going to get in trouble. Something showed up. It was like one of the Hot 100 hits or something showed up in the What You Might Like or something. And it was like this big booty girl in a thong. And our kid like about lost his mind. What is this?
Which one was this?
Benny.
Oh, Benny.
He was like very upset. And
he just keeps seeing people with thongs.
No,
we had a truck. We were, I forget where we were headed to.
Oh, everyone has to have their booty out.
No, but it wasn't even that. It was, we were behind a truck, right? And it was a pickup truck, and the pickup truck had a sticker or something of a chick in a thong, big booty girl, and as I'm driving, Ben is like, look, porn! And I was like, where? I didn't even notice it. He's like, right there in his window. And so I'm looking, I'm like, yo, I hope nobody's like having sex. I mean, things happen. And so I look, I'm like, oh, dude, you're right. I'm sorry that you had to see that. Like, unwillingly had to see that.
Yeah. So, yes, there is. But, so they came to us immediately. I was able to shift things around to kind of so that he wasn't able to see it. The other thing is they're not allowed to have it in their room at night. They're not given, like, if they have it, we are right there with them. They are not just running wild with it. But I think having those conversations with your kids, again, uncomfortable, not fun. I have pictures of you literally dying at our kitchen counter talking about sex with the kids. And it was in the conversation we wanted to have with them.
Yeah.
But we knew in this world where kids have smartphones and, we were living in a neighborhood where they were playing with kids who were at school all day and then coming home and saying, hey, do you know what I saw on the bus today? And so we had to have the conversation. But now that we have, they feel like they can have the conversation with us and say, hey, we've seen or we saw. And luckily, big booty thong girl is the worst that it's gotten. But he was like, why is she like that? And I was like, I don't know. So yes, it's not perfect and we're not perfect and we're going to get things wrong. But I think finding your why, like, hey, I want to protect my kids' mental health, especially young girls. Like, seeing, it's so sad. Young girls should not be on Instagram. They should not be, like, your frontal lobe is not developed until, 25? And we're putting 14-year-olds, and even mature, wonderful 14-year-olds are going to see things. And they're going to question, well, should I look like that? Should my, house look like this? Well, why don't I have this? And it's just so heartbreaking. And it's definitely, if you look into the statistics, it's definitely affecting their mental health. And I think a lot of parents are like, oh, my kid's going to be fine, or it's okay. Like, if they don't have it, they're not going to, be able to play with little Amanda. Okay, well, if Amanda can't talk to her unless she has Snapchat, then Amanda sucks. Like, why would we tell our kids that people who are, like, if someone said to me, I can only be your friend if you communicate with me on Tuesday at 3 p.m. through an app that you don't have. Well, then I guess we can't be friends because you're weird. Like, that doesn't make sense. But yet we're telling our kids, oh, well, then that's okay. You can have this super dangerous app that could get you groomed or kidnapped or expose you to things that you can never unsee. And we're just okay with that because our kids want to be friends with Amanda. Like, and I don't know an Amanda. This is just a meme. Amandas are great. But I remember as a kid, like, saying, like, oh, well, so-and-so is doing this. And my mom would literally, and it drove me nuts, but mom would be like, well, if so-and-so jumped off a bridge, would you too? Well, in 5th grade, probably. I don't know,
Probably.
like, and I think sometimes we have to piss our kids off. It's just part of parenting. And yes, it's easier to just be like, fine, take it. I'm sick of hearing you whining. Or like, yes, please go play on the iPad. I'm sick of, I need to get this done or whatever. And we're all busy and we all have things to do. But is it worth it to risk your child's safety and mental health? No. Short answer is no.
Yeah. Even through, so as you were saying that, I was thinking about someone that we know, a kid who a few years ago got exposed to Netflix's version of porn. I'm not sure if it was like actual
like
porn,
a movie, right?
Or yeah. Like and so but open up, and I'm not sure how she stumbled across it, right? Mm-hmm. But like she came across it, and it was very upsetting. And so just having those if you're going to use it, kind of those guardrails. Mm-hmm. What are those guardrails and things of that nature? So I'm not telling you to list that off, but that's what my mind thinks of is, all right, well, what if we just can't prolong, or what if we don't want to prolong? But that's where my head's going.
A delay? You mean delay?
Yes. Delay. Well, prolong. You also use the word prolong.
Yeah. If you don't want to do that, then you're setting your kids up. Like, period, point blank. Like, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Yeah. But, I mean, you're deciding what you are willing to risk.
So, what if a parent is getting tired of just battling over the screen time?
Ooh, me every day. So, while we do have pretty limited screen time, we do use it. We do allow the kids to have screen time. They have certain games that they can play, certain shows they can watch. One thing that has really helped us is a checklist. So you have to do X, Y, and Z.
Oh, yeah, this is the checklist that you're supposed to be getting out to the world, right?
Yes. So, like, they have to, their room has to be clean, their teeth have to, like, the normal things that, like, you shouldn't have to tell kids that they have to do, but you do.
You fight ours to do it sometimes.
Yeah. So they have to be ready for their day. They have to have cleaned up whatever toys they've played with. They have to have spent time with Jesus. They have to read. They have to journal. They have to be outside. They have to practice their sport or exercise. So there's a list of things that they know that they just have to do. And if they don't do it, and if they don't do it by 5 p.m., then there's no screens today. Also, screens are not guaranteed every single day. So sometimes they might get the list done, but then we're at sports until 8 o'clock at night. You're not coming home and watching a movie.
Yeah.
And I think, that will change in the school year when we get more into like steady schooling, where their homeschool will have to be done. Their books will have to be read. Everything will have to be done before they can have the device. They also know that's pretty much the first thing they lose. If they're acting crazy, it's gone. If you're hitting your brother, it's gone. If you're talking back, it's gone. So just having like set guidelines and set rules. And we've had to go back and forth about what those are,
Yeah, I feel like they're ever evolving.
They are ever evolving. And some days I'm just like, if I'm sick, guys, we're just going to snuggle and watch movies today. But then we still try to do the less wild, like the less, what am I thinking of? The low impact. It's not the right word, but not the bright colors and the video games and the just like more calm.
Yeah.
Like a nice calm movie or something where they're not getting so overstimulated.
Are there any calm movies?
I follow a Facebook account or an Instagram account, and I can't remember which one it is, but she posts like movies, like, and most of them are like PBS.
Okay.
Like neutral colors, not a lot of characters, low volumes, not a lot of changing within the scenes, but I'll try to find her and so you can put it in.
So it sounds like that you are, at least when I hear you talk about that you are kind of not getting away from, that's the wrong verbiage that I want to use, but so these kind of theories that we're talking about, and you're listing off examples as to how someone can actually
so like getting into the nitty-gritty tactics of how to
there we go. All right. Yeah.
Okay.
That's way better articulated that.
Because it is possible, but it is intentional. Like you have to try, because I know it's so much easier just to give them the tablets. I mean, we used to travel all the time and we would just give them the tablets the entire ride. 6 hours, here you go. And they were delightful, but then we get out of the car and they were monsters.
Yeah.
And that's our fault. And even like some days when I like give in and I'm like, okay, you can have an extra hour. And then they're whiny afterwards. I'm like, this is my fault. Like, I know better.
So kind of the initial ownership is on us as parents first. It's almost like what they say when it comes to training a dog, and how training a dog is more like you have to train the owner of the dog.
Yeah. So it's definitely on the parents, and it's hard work. It's not easy, and it is frustrating and annoying, but I will say that once you get that down, so like you might have like a tough week, but then after that it's cake. Like our kids could entertain themselves with Magnum tiles. They did today for like 2 hours. Legos. Like just make sure you have things around that make screen free zones okay, and unlock different secrets to creating a home that like where screens can enhance your life, and we can have family movie night, and we can have they love playing NBA 2K with you. I'm sure those are like core memories that they are going to remember and want to do with their kids. So to have a life where screen time enhances it but doesn't consume it.
Yeah.
And kind of like what one of my favorite people, Jenny from 1,000 Hours Outside, says, like, match your screen time with your green time. Like, okay, if kids spend 8 hours outside, great, then they can have a little bit of screen time. It's not going to completely undo everything, in my opinion.
In your opinion.
In my opinion.
So, any other thoughts? Or
I would just say, like, this isn't, because I do not ever want to hurt anybody's feelings, but truly this isn't to bash anybody who gives their kids endless screen time or who hands their kids a smartphone, because I truly think the people that do that probably don't fully understand the dangers. And I think most parents, if they did, would not. So like a couple of things, like one, it's not too late. Like if you've given your kid a smartphone and you've given them social media, you are the adult. You can say, you know what, baby, I made a mistake and I'm so sorry. You're going to be disappointed by this and you're probably going to be mad at me, but we're taking this away. We're going to walk this back.
And that's kind of like taking ownership as the parent. Like, yo, I made the mistake. Right. I'm sorry. I may have exposed you to whatever, even if like it's already happened. The harassment's already happened.
Right. Or even if nothing has happened yet. right? Even if your kid hasn't been exposed to anything or hasn't experienced any mental health issues or hasn't had their feelings hurt or hasn't, I mean, one thing you hear a lot is like, oh, Sally posted pictures with her and Sarah and Brittany and I wasn't invited and now my feelings are hurt. Even if your kid is doing just fine, they won't be forever, right? Mm-hmm. Something is going to happen, whether it's something as little as your feelings getting hurt or something as horrible as being groomed. So just walk it back and let your kid be mad at you. I always say I have terrified our children into knowing that they will be kidnapped and taken from me and murdered and horrible things happen to them in public spaces. The first time I did it was in Ocean City, Maryland, 4th of July weekend. I was by myself with a 2 and a 4-year-old, and I looked them in their faces and told them all the terrible things that could happen. And you got on me for it. And I said, listen, bro, I'd rather pay for their therapy than be on the 6 o'clock news begging for someone to bring them back to me, right? You would rather have your kid be pissed at you than you paying for their therapy because they've been sexually abused or sexually exploited or have seen something that they can't unsee. So walk it back.
Choose your version of therapy that you want.
Choose it hard. It's just like sending your kid to public school is hard. Homeschooling is hard. Pick your hard. Everything is hard. Nothing in life worth it is easy. Pick your hard. For right now, piss your kid off and take away their social media. They'll be fine. They're going to make it. They're going to make it. Do you know how many things I wasn't allowed to do as a kid? You know how many rated R movies I wasn't allowed to see that all my friends were allowed to see, and to this day I still haven't seen them, and I'm doing just fine.
Friends?
Wasn't allowed to watch Friends, guys. Still have maybe seen a couple episodes, and I'm fine. I don't get all the jokes. I don't understand all the things, but I'm fine. So yeah, piss your kids off. They're going to make it, and you're going to piss them off again in life. It's fine. So yes, today we've taken like a hard look at the screen time. And the stakes are high, but you're not alone. There's so many people that are fighting. Everyone's fighting. Every parent is fighting this battle. It's not just you.
Whether they think they're fighting it or not.
Right. And there are such amazing resources like Wait Till 8th. They have campaigns where you can get together with your friends because it is a lot easier, and it's probably easier for us because we're in a homeschooling community. None of these kids have phones. But if you have 6 or 7 kids in your kid's class that say, we're going to hold off too. Mm-hmm. So then your kid isn't the only one. Because yes, it is isolating, and yes, it sucks. Like, nobody is debating that. But you can find ways around it. And if these kids are worth being friends with, then they'll still be cool to your kid. So you're not alone. And obviously, I'm very passionate about this, so I'll talk to you about it all day. And we are in the midst of developing some resources
for
families.
We are. Yeah.
So yeah, you're not alone. You're not a bad parent if you've given in, and you're not a bad parent for walking it back. But you are a parent, and it is your job to protect your child. It is nobody else's. It's not T-Mobile's safety devices. It's not the Bark phone. It's not your kid's guidance counselor. You are 100% responsible for your children. And sometimes you gotta piss them off and not give them what they want.
Yeah, that's a hard reality.
It is. And I'm not saying it's easy.
Yeah, no, that's a really hard reality. Once again, it just goes back to, it's training, taking ownership, being intentional, all the different words, an intentional parent, training the parent, and like realizing that it's okay that as a parent that I may need to be trained in areas.
Right.
I don't have this all figured out, but...
Well, and I think, too, to be okay with your kids being mad at you. Like, I hate my babies are mad at me. I love them so much. They're, like, my favorite people in the world. I love being with them. I love being around them. I think they're awesome. I hate making them mad or sad. But I will make them mad or sad on this every single day of the week. And I don't actually feel bad about that.
I make them mad and sad on every other way. I guess you got screen time locked down. I just follow your lead. Every other thing of pissing them off is on me.
Yeah, like, I just, I think about all the times I got mad at my mom and thought, she's so mean. She's not letting me do this. She's not letting me do that. She told me one time I couldn't be friends with these girls, and she was like, I just don't trust them. I don't think they're up to good things. And I had no idea what she was talking about. I thought she was so horrible. I told her that I was going to be friends with them if I wanted to. I wasn't, because I didn't have a car, so I couldn't do anything. And both of those girls ended up having drug addiction issues. My mom had no way of knowing that, right? But she saw some things she didn't like, and she pissed me off, and she wouldn't let me be friends with them. But who's to say, Like, I think it's okay to make your kids mad in the for the sake of protecting them.
Yeah.
And the stakes are so different now than they were in the 90s when we were kids.
That's true. So parents need to grow. Parents need to grow a set.
Pretty much.
All parents.
All parents.
Us included.
Us included. Because there's
continue
things
grow
that we don't think are a big deal that someone else does, and things that we don't understand and we don't know.
True. I think that's why, or one reason. There's so many different reasons. I feel about community and interacting with other people. But if other people are able to kind of glean into your life, then you're able to help out in different areas, right? So being able to say to one parent, which I think that you have, is like, hey, you might want to think about walking that back. Like, something that they have done, maybe they shouldn't do, especially if you're seeing negative things stem from it, negative fruit from it. And then in other areas where we aren't necessarily thriving or striving, then we have other people to chime into our lives, right?
Absolutely.
And so it's a two-way street. But that's another podcast. It's another podcast. All right. Well, anything else? Was that your kind of closeout?
That was my closeout.
That was your closeout? It was a pretty good closeout.
Well, thank you.
Like, you articulate, you did very well articulating yourself.
I think it's because, like, I'm really, really passionate. Like, you can always talk about things that you care about, right?
Yeah. But I think perhaps it is. As far as you being super passionate about, I felt like you articulated yourself in such spectacular way today.
Thanks, babe.
So, all right, close us out. Oh man, she forgets the close out, guys. I don't actually remember what it is either. So, give us the intro again.
Thank you for joining us at Wonder and Wildflower podcast, where we talk about the beautiful chaos of family life. This is not my thing.
This is your thing, though.
This is your thing.
No, but you said that as both, and then you.
Oh, and then I did this.
I think that's that.
That's
what's
duck.
that? This is a duck.
You're making a
We're quacking. Oh, I'm out.
I love you.